Good afternoon from the newsroom. A plan to reform the health service over the next decade has been published by the government. The implementation strategy sets out 106 key actions and follows the Slointe Care report, which was published last year. Well, for more on this, our health correspondent Fergal Bowers joins us. Fergal, this is an ambitious plan that has been launched today. And in terms of what the content is, how does the government intend to implement it?
Well, the all-party 10-year Slointe Care report was published last May of last year, and at the time it was costed at €2.6 billion in day-to-day funding and over €3 billion in once-off capital spending. Today the government published the implementation plan for that strategy, and it sets out 106 key actions, especially over the next 3 years. For example, developing community-based diagnostics and developing GP care. But there's no figure for the actual cost of all of these measures, and that's significant. The government says that there are contractual negotiations to happen and procurement issues. This is what the Minister for Health, Simon Harris, had to say at the launch.
I want to see in the first 3 years a real focus on three things: on delivering the elective-only hospitals to drive down waiting lists, on looking at extra bed capacity both in the hospital sector and outside it, and we've funding to do that as well, and thirdly on supporting primary care, putting more diagnostics into the community and resourcing general practice. I think they're the three key pillars in terms of the initial actions that will make a difference to patients.
Now, Fergal, this comes as there's a controversy over the backlog of waiting lists, with Fianna Fáil claiming that is close to 1 million.
Well, now, we knew there were over 720,000 people on hospital waiting lists. The Fianna Fáil figures add on to that other waiting lists, for example, non-hospital treatments like home care packages, primary care waiting for psychology and audiology, for example, and home support hours. Now, the Minister did say today waiting lists are too long, but the primary issue is how long people are waiting to be treated. That's the real test, he says. But he does accept that the waiting numbers in outpatient clinics are far too high.
Fergal, we'll leave it there. Thank you for that. A petition that could force a by-election in North Antrim and unseat the current MP Ian Paisley has opened. Last month, MPs voted to suspend Mr Paisley for 30 sitting days over his failure to declare 2 family holidays paid for by the Sri Lankan government. The DUP MP will face a by-election if 10% of his constituents sign the petition. The recall petition is the first in UK parliamentary history.
Ian Paisley Jr. was suspended from the House of Commons for 30 days over his failure to declare 2 luxury family holidays he enjoyed in Sri Lanka, paid for by the Sri Lankan government. Under Westminster Parliament rules, an MP suspended for more than 10 days can lose their seat if there is a successful petition to recall them. That process began in Mr Paisley's North Antrim constituency today, and if 10% of the electorate vote for a recall, a by-election will be triggered. Sinn Féin are among a number of parties who are encouraging their supporters to vote for the petition, although Republicans say it's not a party political issue.
This isn't an issue of green versus orange, nationalism versus unionism. It is an issue that affects how public representatives are viewed, and whether I was a unionist or a nationalist, I would want my public representatives to do their job in a trustworthy fashion with integrity, and I know that is the response from unionist people I have engaged with over the last couple of weeks.
The petition is open for signing for the next 6 weeks, and if 10% of the electorate vote in favour, then a by-election will be held probably in the autumn. Ian Paisley has already said that he intends to stand again here, although whether it's as a member of the DUP or as an independent may well depend on what action, if any, his party decides to take against him. Brendan Wright, RTE News, Ballymoney, County Antrim.
Over 1,300 people, many of whom have disabilities, are living in nursing homes for the elderly. That's despite the fact that they're under the age of 65. One man has now spent close to a decade living in a nursing home as appropriate accommodation cannot be found for him.
Michael McGeely is 46. He was 36 when he entered a nursing home in North County Dublin on what he thought was a short-term basis.
I have been patient long enough. I would like an opportunity to lead as independent a life as I can. I want to live in a house of my own with other people my age.
Michael is one of 1,313 people under the age of 65 who are living in nursing homes for older people. That's 91 more than this time last year. A formal letter of complaint about his case has been sent to the HSE. The HSE says it is aware there are younger people with disabilities living in nursing homes who wish to live independently with appropriate supports, and it's working with community health organisations to that end. But it says resources are finite, and regretfully, sometimes people will have to wait before their wish can be facilitated. But under the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which Ireland has now ratified, housing is not just a wish, but a right.
Article 19 of the UN Convention says that people should have the right to choose where they wish to live, and that's a civil and political right.
36-year-old Shane Rothwell, who has cerebral palsy, has moved into his own apartment after spending 6 years in a nursing home. He's now free to work and do the things he enjoys.
When I'm off work, I can come and go, I can do what I want. It's very comfortable. It wasn't comfortable in the nursing home.
But whilst Shane has his wish, Michael fears the chances of him finding his own home are running out. Eleanor Byrnehill, RTE News.
Ryanair pilots in Germany have announced they will strike for 24 hours on Friday in a dispute over pay and conditions. Strike actions already planned on Friday in Ireland, Sweden and Belgium. The airline said it has cancelled 250 of its scheduled flights to and from Germany on that day. Some 20 flights to and from Ireland on Friday are also cancelled, affecting 3,500 customers. Those passengers have been contacted and will be rescheduled on other flights or be refunded. About 50 Irish tourists have been evacuated from the Gili Islands in Indonesia after a deadly earthquake struck the region. Around 4,600 tourists have been moved from the 3 tiny tropical islands off the coast of Lombok. The quake killed over 100 people and destroyed thousands of buildings. Last week, 17 people died as a result of another tremor. Mexican police have found cocaine worth $250,000 hidden inside bread rolls during an airport raid. The seizure comes as the country's president-elect launches an initiative to tackle drug-related violence. Last year, there were over 28,000 homicides, the highest ever figure. Mr. Andres Lopez Obrador, who takes office in December, has established a peace forum, which he said will promote forgiveness. Officials in California have warned that the state's biggest wildfire on record is expected to burn for the rest of the month. Burning in a largely rural area, the fire has engulfed more than 117,000 hectares, which is almost the size of Los Angeles. Firefighters are also tackling more than a dozen other fires across the state. Now, Irish Water has said that water restrictions are likely to remain in place for the foreseeable future. The utility said water supplies around the country are very much depleted and there are just 70 days of supply left in the main reservoir serving the greater Dublin area.
The weather drought clearly is over, but the water drought is not. We have very depleted water resources across the south, Midlands and east of the country. Many of our rivers in the south in particular are very low, and we are sandbagging rivers to try and get enough water into our intakes. In the Dublin region, we've about 70 days storage left in Pálafuca. That means we need to conserve water as much as we can and hope that there is a certain amount of rainfall at least, so that we can recover the lake sufficiently.
In sport, Ireland's Mona McSharry has booked her place in the semi-finals of the women's 50-metre breaststroke at the European Championships in Glasgow. The 17-year-old finished in third position in her heat in a time of 31.9 seconds. She qualified as the 10th fastest overall and will take part in the semi-finals this evening. 16-year-old Tanya Watson reached her first senior international final after finishing in 11th place in the women's 10-metre diving platform preliminaries. That final is due to get underway around 20 to 3 this afternoon. Now finally, the 145th Dublin Horse Show is underway at the RDS. Around 1,600 horses and ponies will take part in events over the next 5 days. Organisers are expecting around 100,000 people to attend this show this week. And our agriculture correspondent George Lee is at the RDS. George, an exciting event as always, but no doubt the threat of Brexit must be a worry for those there in the industry.
Very big worry, actually. They're talking about being very nervous and concerned about it, because as we move towards March, the big fear is a hard Brexit. Now, we've had a customs union with the UK since 1801. We've never had the situation where you've had circumstances which would make it difficult for the horse industry to trade between the UK and Ireland. It's an export-led industry. It's worth about €816 million a year. It supports about 14,000 jobs. And the whole issue about something coming down like a guillotine on them about this Brexit situation has them extremely worried. It is one of the big shadows cast over this year's event, but it is a very good event this year, very well organised. As you say, 145 years, there's 135 different competitions, and there's €1 million in prize money, and there's a bit of fun for absolutely everybody who'll come here. But what they say is that this event costs about €4.9 to €5 million to put on. It delivers for the economy 5 times that much. It's done on a non-for-profit basis. So the big fear for them is that the whole issue about Brexit, if it undermines the horse sport industry, could undermine an event like this and the contribution that it makes to the economy and to every town and village in Ireland. They say there's 14,800 active breeders in Ireland in every town and village and parish all over the country.
George, thank you for that. We'll be talking to you again later on. Well, that is all from the newsroom for now. Good afternoon.